You are watching the New American Media. Live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, the United States of America. Los Angeles, California, to be specific. Hello, howdy, hi. My name is Brian Engelman, and I'm your host here on the NewAmericanMedia.com. This is Agree to Disagree. No, it's not. This is the Unhappy Hour. No, it's not. This is actually Strictly Browns. Yes, we have a third show that we do on a very regular basis, and we talk about only the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, who are 0-4, looking for their first win against, this one should be easy, just the defending Super Bowl champ. No big deal, right? Well, the Browns have been pretty good at knocking off the Goliath in years past, even with lousy teams, thinking of that Saints game in particular. But before we get going here with special guest Brandon O'Dell, co-host of this program, want to remind you that if you're not following us on Twitter, please do so. We're at American_media_. Go on Facebook and search for The New American Media and like our page. And click subscribe on youtube.com/The New American Media. We just had a pretty cool interview with Governor Gary Johnson. He is running for Libertarian candidate of the 2012 U.S. presidential election. Check it out. It's on the homepage of thenewamericanmedia.com as well. I'd like to welcome into the program Brandon O'Dell. Brandon, happy Friday. How you doing, sir?
Doing well, doing well. I'm just going to get this out of the way right now. Browns are going to win 20-10 this week. I have a feeling.
Okay, yeah, that's no big deal. That's not a bombshell to start the show. How in the world are you predicting the Browns 20-10? Let's hear some of the reasoning here. I like it.
I think the biggest reasoning is the fact that we had just recently talked, or you just recently mentioned how sometimes the Browns have a game that they have no business being in at all, and yet they somehow manage to pull it out and win. And you talked about that Saints game a few years ago. Also, remember the weekend after that was the Browns beating the Patriots, a game in which I attended. And that was Hillis just having a dominating performance that game. And don't forget the last time that these two teams met, the Giants and the Browns. It was a Monday night affair, that ill-fated 2008 season where the Browns were supposed to officially be contenders after the surprise 10-6 season. One of those four teams that they beat that year was the New York Football Giants. So I'm thinking that that the time is now. The Giants are a good team, but let's put it this way: they've never been a good regular season team, and they seem to know how to turn it on a little bit later on in the year, which certainly is something that you need if you want to be able to contend for Super Bowls. But I think we're playing them at the right time. And you know what? Hey, who knows? Maybe this is the week that offense, defense, special teams, that we can kind of put all three together.
Well, it was a pretty rough week, dropping 2 on Sunday and then on the Thursday night game. Some close games. This year for a team being so bad, allegedly, they're really in quite a few of these games as it's, in the fourth quarter against the Eagles, against the Ravens. Those are some solid, what are they, both 3-1? Those are both some solid football teams. Eagles feel like they're getting lucky and Vic is going to get injured real quick the way he's taking all those hits with the damage on their offensive line, but we're staying in these games. And this is without Phil Taylor down on the defensive line, without Joe Hayden in the secondary. With a win predicted 20-10, I'll go ahead and I'll pick 27-24. I think our secondary is going to give up quite a few long plays and quite a few yards, but I think they'll bend and not break when it comes down to it. And I think Weed and Richardson, I think they're really getting on the same page, and I think one of these receivers is going to step up here. But moving forward, do you think this team has a chance to continue improving? Because we have a new owner in town, and he has to make a decision. Are we going to keep Mike Holmgren, or are we going to keep Pat Shurmur? Is this guy the quarterback of the future in Brandon Weeden? How do you see the rest of this season progressing?
Well, I'll just kind of go down the list. I mean, I think everyone assumes Holmgren is gone. And let's be honest with ourselves. Shermer has done absolutely nothing to endear himself to the new owner. He's not shown that he can have success on the field. And he has a very salty demeanor where, if you're someone like a Tom Coughlin, you can afford to have that because you're also winning football games. But Pat Shermer is not winning football games, and he's a jerk. He's if you see his interactions with the press, a lot of times they're very sarcastic. Sure, maybe he has that wry sense of humor, but he's just kind of a jerk. So I think Shermer is probably gone, and I think the big question mark is Heckert going to be gone, and probably just for the sake of getting rid of the other two, I think Heckert's probably going to be gone as well. So you're going to see turnover again, and I think the difference this time is the new regime that takes over won't be basically having to start with a bare cupboard, because one thing that Heckert, and I guess if you want to throw Holmgren in this as well, have done is that they have started to restock the cabinet, so to speak.
And Whedon, for all of the concerns with his age, which are quite legitimate. I mean, he's an old man as a rookie, and sometimes it takes a while to get your bearings in the NFL. But what I'm seeing from him is he's got the tools to be a quarterback. I've seen him play in college. I know he can win. He's tall enough to throw over the line. He's zipping balls all around the place. He's had quite a few dumb decisions, which you can expect from a rookie. Maybe not Robert Griffin or Andrew Luck, but you're going to see it everywhere. I mean, you're going to see the growing pains. But you're right. I mean, they have a quarterback that can at least sling it. If he can keep the dumb mistakes down, and they have a good running back, and they have a solid offensive line, and a bunch of young receivers that might be able to step up. I say we draft another receiver next year in the draft as high as possible. But you're right. They finally have a few building blocks. And then the defense. The defense has some key components, whether it's Hayden or Phil Taylor, some of the new rookies on the line, Jabal Sheard or DeQuell Jackson. I think this would be the best situation for any new coach to come into since the Browns have been reborn since the move.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I do disagree that they want to go back and get another receiver high. I think that the problem is that their receivers are too young. I think instead they need to realize that when you are a team that is trying to catch up to the other teams in your division, you can't afford to just grow all your own talent. They need to go out and get a veteran-type receiver. A Joe Juravicius type would look great. Obviously, Juravicius is retired, but that type of a solid possession receiver is certainly what they need on the team. But either way, it is what it is, and the Browns' wins are going to be hard to come by. We kind of knew that all along. The disappointing part isn't that they're losing. That they're losing close games that they have a chance to win, and I think that is sometimes even harder to take than just getting blown out. And then other times it's I guess more you can at least be a little bit more optimistic. So looking at the Giants game, there's a few things in particular that really are of note here. First of all, keep in mind the fact that Eli Manning is certainly reaching the true prime of his career, and that's after he has already won 2 Super Bowls. So that's a scary thought. However, when I said that we're catching them at the right time, another thing to keep in mind is that, we're short Joe Hayden, but they're going to be short Hakeem Nicks, and that can't be understated. He does have some other weapons to throw to. Obviously, Victor Cruz had a big, just breakout season last year, and but no Mario Manningham, who moved on. I believe he plays for the San Francisco 49ers now. You have no Hakeem Nicks. You have no Kevin Boss, who I believe they got rid of him. No, what was the
the tight end from the Buckeyes that had a pretty good season for them last year.
Jake Ballard.
And then got hurt, and they put him on injured reserve, and then he was snatched up by the Patriots. So you know who I'm talking about?
Jake
who
Ballard.
am I thinking of?
Jake Ballard?
Jake Ballard, sure. So they still have Ahmad Bradshaw, but really, it's all on Eli Manning's shoulders. So it's going to be a matter of whether the Browns can get a pass rush on him, which they have shown the ability to do. They've shown the ability to get a pass rush on a mobile quarterback like your Michael Vick, and then they've also shown the ability to get a pass rush on quarterbacks that are more of pocket passers. They didn't get as many sacks on. Well, actually, no, I take that back. I mean, what did they have? 6 sacks on Andy Dalton. The following week, they just didn't have all the interceptions.
The Browns have had good pressure.
The pressure is there, and they showed that they were getting pressure on Joe Flacco on the Thursday game too. So, the defense can create some pressure. We can really start to see Jabal Sheard starting to get maybe a few sacks in there. DeQuell Jackson had a little bit of a quiet last couple of games. We've got a shot at winning this game. Don't underestimate the Browns here. I don't think that the Giants are looking past us one bit.
No, I unfortunately or fortunately, it's probably half and half, but I usually predict the Browns to win. I always expect that this team is one play away, one bounce away from just getting a little bit of confidence, getting a little swagger, getting some rhythm. And in the NFL, it's very easy to go from worst to first. I mean, it is very possible to be terrible, one of the 5 worst teams, and then become a playoff contender. Are you the best team competing in the league for the chance of the Super Bowl? I don't know about that, but you can at least crack into that playoff caliber. And I keep waiting to see it happen, and I'm not discounting the Browns' chances. I've seen so many upsets from so many lousy teams with the Browns. But speaking of so many lousy teams, Brandon, let's go into overtime here. Let's just go ahead and wrap up Strictly Browns and go to overtime.
Well, but before we go any further, here's one more thing that you want to keep in mind regarding this weekend's game with the Browns. Trent Richardson did not practice yesterday because he was with his girlfriend for the birth of his first son. Don't underestimate that. If anyone has the opportunity to be a true fire plug for this team, it is going to be Trent Richardson. And to have that little extra motivation after the birth of his first boy, you might see Trent Richardson really bust out and have, if you want to say he's already had his breakout games a little bit, but, really show that he could take over a ball game. That's what I'm thinking that we might see this week. So just a little food for thought there.
And I think you said a week or two ago that Trent Richardson, all the reports coming in, that he's really starting to take control of that locker room and become one of those leaders, one of those team captain type players that really steps up. That was a conversation I was having with you, correct?
Yes.
Can you refresh everybody's memory to exactly what you said? Because if this guy, he's not just a good player and he's not a cancer on the team, he's not doing detrimental things. Can you kind of refresh us on that point? Because if he's becoming a team leader behind the scenes, I think you might be onto something there with your point about coming out with some extra spark after the birth of his first boy, his 3rd child overall.
Just the fact that he's someone who isn't afraid to be vocal. And, you have those quiet leaders on the team. Your, Joe Thomas's, Joe Thomas, Ataba Rubin are a couple of names that come to mind. But Trent Richardson apparently has a little bit of a fire to him, isn't afraid to speak his mind, hasn't been afraid to speak his mind in front of the media. And apparently he very quickly earned the respect of the locker room through his work ethic. And let's keep in mind the fact that the Browns have so few veterans on their team that it's maybe not necessarily as difficult for a young player to be able to step up and take that leadership type of role, especially on the offense. Because if you get past Joe Thomas, maybe Alex Mack, there are no other veterans on the offense. So, it is pretty easy to see how he could be able to step into that role. So either way, keep that in mind. You might see Trent Richardson bust out a little bit. know you wanted to take just a minute with overtime here. You wanting to talk a little bit perhaps about the Buckeyes?
Well, kind of. Before we hop to overtime, let me go back and rephrase something. You said where you would disagree with me that we need to draft a receiver high. Let me rephrase. I think what Brandon said is exactly what we need to do. I think the Cleveland Browns need to get a veteran wide receiver who has a strong work ethic, who has praise throughout the league, people that have played with him speak highly of him, that can understand how to break down a defense, someone that can show some of that leadership. I agree, Brandon. I don't want another draft pick at wide receiver. I want a veteran that can teach the young kids how to get better. That's exactly what I meant, having heard you reply to that comment. I want to see more depth. I want to see a true leader added to the Cleveland Browns wide receiving corps. So where I thought that they were weak, that's an area of weakness I want to improve, and I think a veteran wide receiver is exactly the prescription for that. Yeah, we can talk Buckeyes for a second, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on this out of the Plain Dealer. This is from today. Cleveland's record is second worst among cities with teams in all three major pro sports. So here's what you have. You got the rankings. I'll read you off the bottom few, and then there are two at the bottom. We're number 2 down there. So at number 8th worst, New York, then Phoenix, Miami, Houston, Seattle, Minneapolis, San Francisco, Detroit, Cleveland, and Washington. The overall winning percentage is 44%. Talk about that for a second, the ineptitude in all of the major sports over the past decade, and that even factors in the LeBron James era where the Cavs were fantastic. That's how bad the Browns and the Indians have been.
I mean, what else is there to say other than the fact that we've dealt with it for, most of our lives in some respect or another? I mean, it's very rare where, 2007 was like that freak year where, the Indians went to the playoffs, almost made it to the World Series. You had the Cavs were obviously still, in their heyday. And you had the Browns have that surprise 10-6 season. That was when all the stars were really aligning. Buckeyes went to the national title game. There were a lot of good things going on, and then 0 titles to show for it. So, it's just the way things are. I mean, if you're a Cleveland fan and you're going to spend too much time just mulling over past failures, you're going to drive yourself crazy. So, honestly, I would prefer to speak more about maybe what's going to be happening, hopefully with the Buckeyes' victory, even though that is a sore point too, because they can't even go to a bowl game this year. So it's all very frustrating. That's basically, I guess, what I have to say.
Well, let's continue with the Buckeyes for a second, because that is one of the consistent franchises, if you will, in the northeastern Ohio sports universe. There is no real large Cleveland area college football team to root for of note, so the Buckeyes become the default team, even though they're about 2 hours away from Cleveland. But aside from
the right word for it, they're the Ohio team, and I think that is the right term for it. I mean, there's a heck of a lot of Cleveland athletes that go play at Ohio State. Look at Troy Smith. There's no default about it. Ohio State is Cleveland is Ohio State country.
Absolutely, and I think Ohio State is. I saw a report that said that they were the most popular team. That they had the biggest fan support all across the country. That Ohio State was the most popular team, and definitely in the top 5, regardless, because they've been consistent, aside from the Jim Tressel fiasco and then that down year. I mean, here they are. They're undefeated under Urban Meyer. They don't look perfect by any means, but this is a fun team to watch, and they're pulling out the close wins. And especially last week, they showed some grit against Michigan State. What are your thoughts on the young season so far for the Buckeyes, Brandon?
I think it's going to be a good, I don't think they're going to go undefeated. I think they could lose their first game this weekend, honestly. Nebraska's, they're going to put out a solid team, and I don't know if they're going to be able to run the table. They just have shown too many defensive mistakes this year, which is a little bit of a surprise. But overall, it's been fun to watch. It's certainly always nice to know that at least one
one day out of the weekend, you have a pretty good shot at seeing a team get a win. So, it'll be fun. Braxton Miller and Taylor Martinez, two very similar types of quarterbacks. I think Martinez is a junior this year, so I think he's a year ahead of Braxton Miller. But it'll be fun seeing those quarterbacks go head to head. I wouldn't doubt seeing both teams putting up about 35 points or so.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Braxton Miller develop under the Urban Meyer system. He has a good track record working with quarterbacks, whether it's Alex Smith out in Utah or, hell, back to the Bowling Green days, but then Tebow winning getting a Heisman despite, some of the skill set that he actually has. He looked fantastic in college. I mean, I really think that Braxton Miller can develop into something special. That kid is a phenomenal runner. He's not a running back, but I have been completely blown away by his ball handling skills and his moves. Ball handling skills was the wrong phrase there because he's fumbled once or twice. But his moves, he breaks other people's ankles. What can you say about Braxton Miller as a runner? Because that is a huge part of the Buckeye offense right now.
They brought him in to be Terrell Pryor's heir apparent. They brought him in to run Terrell Pryor's offense. Terrell Pryor, obviously, an excellent running quarterback as well, and Braxton Miller was going to be the perfect fit. It's very unfortunate. It would have been nice to see all that stuff work out the right way, and Terrell Pryor could have been back for his senior year last year, where the Buckeyes were supposed to contend for a national title. And you could have gotten a chance to really see Braxton Miller get a little bit of, tutelage, where this should have been his redshirt freshman year. But things happen, and he's certainly had to learn on the fly, just like Terrell Pryor, I guess, did, having to come in right away his freshman year. Either way, it's going to be fun to see him develop. I guess I'm not putting too much stock into this year one way or the other, because that there's nothing at the end of the tunnel. So, hopefully next year is going to be their opportunity to really be able to contend for a national title, and it'll be fun to see if he has any legs in the Heisman race as well, so to speak. So with that, Brian, unfortunately, I got to wrap this up here, so I don't know if you have any final thoughts or anything like that.
No, that's pretty much it, unless you or Joe Morgan had any thoughts on the baseball one-game playoff wildcard thing starting tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what, if there's one team that can come out and play better offense and play better defense, that's going to be the team that's going to win that game. And don't be surprised if you see the team that has the final score in their favor. That's going to be a team that's going to pull it out tonight.
Thank you, Joe Morgan. I appreciate your time. Brandon, I'll talk with you again next week on Strictly Browns. You stay safe, buddy.
Go Browns. Remember, 20-10. Browns win.
Go Browns. Thanks a lot, man. I'll tell you, just a little bit of background there for everybody. Brandon was my college roommate at Bowling Green State University, so I mean we knew Urban Meyer back in the day, and we know what he's capable of. And Brandon and I had done college radio for 3.5 years, and during so many of those great Indians runs, I mean we saw 2 World Series. No, we saw the 1 World Series and a bunch of playoff runs. And every time Joe Morgan would come on the TV, Brandon would just couldn't believe the types of things, the types of insight that Joe Morgan was putting out there. And so he developed this whole Joe Morgan character that would talk, for hours at a time. It would be just Joe Morgan's voice. And anytime you wanted to hear it, you just address Joe Morgan and out would pop that voice. It's hilarious. And if you go back and listen, what he said about the prediction said absolutely nothing, which is hilarious. So I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break here for a second, and we're going to be back. We're going to talk with Zach Barris. Haven't talked with Zach in a while. Took a little bit of a hiatus. Zach is another lifelong Cleveland sports fan, such as myself, such as Brandon, and he is an NBA scout out here in Los Angeles, and he's got some thoughts. Not on baseball, but we're going to talk a little football. We're going to talk a little Browns. We're going to talk a little Buckeyes. And all of the NBA stuff. You're hearing all these quotes and Shaq and Dwight Howard getting into it, and Barkley talking about LeBron and could he be better than Michael Jordan. And the NBA season is quickly ramping up. Don't forget the draft was quite a few months ago, and here we are. getting ready to start another NBA season. And maybe this is the one where the Cavs can become competitive again. That's what my hope is for sure. So I want to remind you again that if you're not following the New American Media on Twitter, please do so. You can find us at American_media_. Click follow at American_media_. We got about 14,500 people there. Some are there for politics, some are there for spirituality or religion, some are there for sports, some are there for philosophy, some are there for ancient aliens conversation. It doesn't matter. I mean, we're open to most conversations. Just keep it mostly civil. We say we seek truth, we challenge dogma, and we have fun. So deal with it. You don't have to agree with us, and if you got an opinion and you want to disagree, then come on. We can agree to disagree. We need to have better conversations in this country. There's no reason a Steeler fan can't talk to a Browns fan. There's no reason why a Democrat can't talk to a Republican. There's no reason why a Catholic can't talk to a Jew. There's no reason why we can't get past all of these self-imposed rigid parameters that we've built around ourselves. There's no reason why we have to devolve and stop talking. So, we don't expect everyone to agree with us on everything. That's why our second show is called Agree to Disagree. And if you haven't checked out any of that stuff, please take a look at what we have going on. Go to, where's a good place? How about YouTube? Go to youtube.com/The New American Media. And actually, during college football season, this becomes The New American Media. Just like The Ohio State University. But go ahead and check it out at youtube.com/The New American Media. I think we're about 8 subscribers away from 200. Yet another milestone we're quickly reaching, about 42,500 people viewing, 42,500 video views. And we just interviewed Libertarian presidential candidate for this 2012 American election, Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico. He sat down with us remotely, through our telephone interview, rather, but he spoke with us about 35 minutes, talked about his thoughts on this upcoming election, and it was good. It was very interesting, so we want you to go check that out as well. So we'll take a brief time out here. We'll be back with Zach Barris, lifelong Cleveland sports fan and NBA scout. Special thanks to Brandon O'Dell on Strictly Browns. And we'll be back on the other side. I think we're going to talk a little bit more NBA than I've talked in quite a few months, and hopefully this is going to be a decent season for the Cleveland Cavaliers. My name is Brian Engelman. Appreciate you listening.
You were listening to The Unhappy Hour Sports Radio Show on the NewAmericanMedia.com.
Welcome back, netizens, to this newest edition in Juice Media series of rap news journalism with me, Robert Foster. This evening we're actively delving in depth to facts which affect all of us who dwell on this internet, and we've got to give a special welcome to all the ladies and agents from the NSA, AC, or MI5. Glad you're listening in, because today's show is all about surveillance and how it's spreading from the streets into our modems. As we speak, laws are being tacitly written in to implement ways of controlling the expanse of this internet to keep us safe, we're told. But from whom? And will this place ever be the same if these plans go through? To find out, we connect with our first guest to comment on the matter. We're live at the Panopticon with General Baxter. General? Son? Good to have you back again with us. Explain why the state is spying on us.
My fellow Oceanians, as you know, we've always been at war with Eurasia. Or is it East Asia? Either way, it's war and we need division to wage it. But now the proles are connecting online, bypassing these illusory divisions of race, religion, and nationality.
Sounds grand to me.
It's a catastrophe. Centuries of hard work are being undone, profits are vanishing, and it's due to the internet. It's empowering humanity. We need to get this snafu under control rapidly.
How?
Behold the latest weapon in the war of terror. Our greatest invention since 9/11. Guaranteed to keep us free and safe forever. I give you the surveillance state, ladies and generals. Our secret wires log your key style. Monitor every single number on your speed dial. Rewind straight to your position with facial recognition and pinpoint you within 0.03 of a mile. We've put eyes everywhere without consulting you, keeping you safe whether or not you want us to. Soon there'll be no freedoms left for threatening. Then then we'll have won the war. Take that, terrorism.
Brilliant. Thank you, General. We now interview our resident guru, Terrence Moonseed, for a different view.
Greetings.
How does this situation look?
I have one word for you, Robert. Double plus I'm good. The world populace of 7.4 billion are all headed in the direction of Orwellian totalitarian oblivion. My voice is horse yelling about stellar winds, cold chilling them and trap wire weaving through the world wide web we all dwelling in. Face it, the all-seeing eyes in all of our Facebooks like a virus, and in these iPhones with Siri, or should I say Iris. Next in line is RFID devices and mind chips triggered by chemtrails the plague spray the sky with. This time it's too far. Check out the base they're building in Utah, where they'll be storing all your data for over a century. It's FUBAR. And under the outback is an entire tunnel of wires, an echelon base called Pine Gap to hijack our mother Gaia.
Hey, maybe your mother's gayer.
Boo-hoo. Why didn't you just kill yourself like most of your troops do?
That's it. Now you're on the cast iron list.
Hang on, General. Why weren't we informed about this?
Sorry we didn't tell you about our grand plan before. It was meant to be a surprise, under wraps in a store. But some spoil sports had to go and ruin it for all by blowing whistles in spite of the damn law.
Bill, Benny, and Thomas Drake are trailblazers for leaking these tactics.
Hey, civil liberty activists, this is all legal. Anything we do now actually is.
How did...
You can't question my authority thanks to this.
And that shit's global, people. In Australia, it's now legal for the government to store all SMSs, searches, and emails. Australians, it's taking place under your nose. Unless you wake up, all your data are belong to ACO.
Come on, everyone knows you can trust the government now. If you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to worry about.
That might be the case with things that are happening now, because most people agree with most of the laws that are being handed down. But once the Illuminati reveal their agenda for you, this surveillance will enforce laws you no longer consent to. But by then it'll be too late to protest too, and anything you've ever said, typed or browsed can or will be used against you.
I'm confused. So what should we do then?
What should we do? Nothing. This is all an illusion. It's just a ride, a delusion, the Matrix, the Maya deceiving us.
Oh, you hippies really make our job so much easier.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're picking up a signal from beyond the space-time continuum. Quick, switch on the juice channeling portal. Wait, is that George Orwell?
Good day to you.
Wow, what do we owe this honor to?
I tried to warn you noobs, but I see you are actually fools, or else you thought this was an instruction manual.
Yes, so can you advise us? What would you have us do?
An open and universal internet is the most effective tool you have to address the issues that afflict the world at hand. Therefore, protecting it is the most essential task that stands before your generation.
I think I understand.
Hush, man. You must not lose the internet. Heed this mantra. Who controls the internet controls the data. And who controls the data controls the future.
We're losing you.
I leave you with a tool to use.
An onion? Don't be simple, Robert. This is but a simile. It stands for Tor.
Tor?
Google it. It's for anonymity. This onion router open network helps considerably against tyranny, but its abilities only work if all you use it consistently.
And even if you don't use it, run it so its force swells.
Thanks, Mr. Orwell.
From now on, call me George Torwell. If we'd had such tools when I wrote this, well, it would have been so much simpler to tell Big Brother to go f himself. The mother sucking piece of shit.
Thanks, George Torwell, for manifesting direct from this memory hole of history to impress on us these messages. We're told we need safety, which is precious, yes, but can a society that can enforce all its laws ever progress? Hindsight shows that many figures guilty of thought crime turned out to be luminaries and heroes before their time. But if a surveillance state had reigned then in this form and design, just think of all the progress we may have all been denied. Could lobbies for women's or gay rights have appeared and thrived? Would revolutionary ideals have materialized? Would science have pioneered or even survived if every word had been monitored by thought police and spies? Big Brother brings chilling effects, freezing our collective hopes. He doesn't protect our safety, but protects the status quo and threatens this internet, the one channel yet uncontrolled, whose openness we are now called upon to effect and uphold.
You are listening to the New American Media.